the pleasure to introduce to you Roshan Thiran. Roshan Thiran is no stranger to us, has spoken here before. Roshan Thiran is a founder of Leaderonomics group of companies. He's successful in his training business, but Leaderonomics is not just a business, it's a social enterprise that specializes in leadership development and also transformational leadership. So it is my pleasure to pass the podium to Roshan for his topic on transformational leadership. Roshan?
I'm going to talk a little bit about transformation, but one story. I took on a role at my old company, General Electric, 10 years ago, and it was a funny role because I was running businesses, and then I was so tired, I wanted to quit, and they said, do a sabbatical. And so they gave me a role to run the Learning and Development Center, specific for retiring people. But I was kind of young at the time, but they said, yeah, man, you take care of that center, and I started interviewing different people and so on. And one of the guys I interviewed was the head of the police academy who runs the police across the United States. And he told me this very interesting story because as we were talking about leadership and different things, he said, look, one of the most interesting stories he came across is every day he has an exam for people who are the cadets. Basically, this is to pass and become a police officer. So one of the questions he asked during the exam is this question. He said, look, here's the problem. Here's the problem. You are a police officer in uniform and you're walking, and suddenly you see somebody being mugged over there. But while that is happening, you see an accident in the road. While that is happening, you suddenly see somebody is running through a stone, and broke the glass, and he's trying to steal a store over there. And while that's happening, another thing is happening, another thing is happening. What do you do? Call for backup, right? Okay. So a lot of answers now. But you see, you know what's the best answer he heard? Yeah, there's one time where he said, I'll run into that retail store that's being robbed, quickly take off my uniform, wear one of the civilian's clothes and pretend to be civilian, say, I do not know my problem. and you know what, I think many times we might feel like this. As a parent, as a leader, all the problems that are mounting. And then say, hey, you are the parent, you're supposed to take care, you're the leader of the family, you're this, you're that, you're the leader of this business, you're supposed to drive, you're the team head, you're this, you're that. Sometimes the problems are so mounting, then you say, I just want to give up. Y'all do, I don't care. Get up, and I want to urge you, right, today, as we go through this, and I want to tell you, I want to walk through why the problems are so mounting. But the other thing this my own personal belief is that we are called to be lights and salt, to be transformative in the place that we are in. And today I want to talk about that, how we can be transformative and how we can drive change and how we can make a difference in the places that we live, or they are called to. Right? So that's kind of where I want to start. And my prior to this role, maybe you can click the next click. So I want to encourage you not to give up. But prior to this role that I had, one of my toughest assignments was coming back to Malaysia. So I spent many years in the US and Europe running businesses, and then I had to come back to Malaysia to run an aviation business. Now, previously I've been running TV business, so I was in NBC, Universal in the US, and then I was running healthcare, financial services, a lot of that kind of business. And then suddenly I came here to run an aviation shop. And to make the story shorter, this shop was the most hopeless shop in the world, really hopeless. Now, typically a shop will take about 60 days to take, so this is an engine shop. If you fly a commercial airline, every airline got 2 engines or 4 engines. If you take out the engines, you service it, you overhaul it, and you put it back. That's the business of this shop. Usually it takes about 60 days to 80 days. So the engine comes to you, you service it, you put it back on the plane. This shop averaged about 500 days. 550 actually. The average turnaround time. Right? It's not only that, every time a defect. The defect means the plane is flying and the engine cannot work. But the good news is, a 2-engine aircraft don't really need 2 engines, 1 engine is enough. But my second day of work, when I came back, this happened real. Malaysia Airlines, we just mounted 2 engines. We had only one customer at that time, Malaysia Airlines. We mounted 2 engines, just brand new service, flew. Engine 1 malfunctioned. Engine 2, in the middle of the Indian Ocean, this KL Delhi flight. Engine 2 fell off the mount. Now got no engine. Now, the pilot was very good. He didn't reach Delhi, but he ended up Chennai and did an emergency stop and so on. But this is my second day of work. I get this car. Then we blow up test cell, while we're testing the engine, things blow up, all kinds of crazy stuff happening. But after about 1.5 years of working this shop, right, we actually transformed this shop. We kind of transformed this shop into the world's best shop. So when I came here, it was a US $30 million revenue shop, losing 60 million in revenue. 2 years later, we are a $250 million shop, so about $1 billion ringgit, profitable. Today, 20 plus years later, This is 99 to 2001, I was there. Today, it's the biggest shop in the world. $2.5 billion US, still in Subang. If you go to Subang Airport, you see a crossing, you see GE Engine Services, that's the shop. They're just opening up a new shop in KLIA because every airline in the world, Southwest, Ryanair, every single airline is fighting to send their planes to Malaysia to be serviced by the shop. Now, I tell you this story, and that's kind of how I got involved in transformation. Because then, when Idris Jalal took over Malaysia Airlines, when everybody, Ahmad Pradas from UAM, talked to the GE fella how he did the transformation using GLC. Because I mean, we bought this shop from Malaysian Airlines. So it was really taking government employees and making that into the best shop in the world. I'm going to reference this a bit, but what I want to say is, at that point in time, I thought I understood how transformation works. As I started on this journey of helping organizations transform, I started to realize something even more incredulous. Transformation and change is also highly dependent on context, right? And leadership, likewise, I think the principles of leadership are ever the same. However, context plays a significant role in terms of leadership. And one of the things that's brilliant that I start to see more and more, in contexts that are challenging, right? And I'll talk about today's context. The interesting thing is that transformative leadership, that the formula still works, application of it is going to be very different. So let me start by giving a bit of context to this whole thing. So I need you to understand one thing very important. Anything you take away from today is this. You know, when I first joined the workforce, the communication method across our different GE businesses was using fax machine. So we send a fax. Some of you don't even know what fax machine is, but never mind. We would send a fax, and I'll get the fax, then I'll go inside, go to my Lotus 123, put in that thing, send the spreadsheet back, fax it to Sweden or wherever, and then get, wait one day and we'll get communication. And then it changed to email. While that happened, it actually took a lot of time. So some people using fax, still some people using email. So the new way of communication was email, but half the people were using the old way and saying, no, I don't know this email thing, don't give me this computer. Half the people. Now, the same thing happened 100 years ago. Most people used to go, 120 years ago, most people used to go everywhere using horses. Right? Then suddenly, this evil invention, bad technology, called cars came, Because at that time, the horse guy said, this cars are evil, this bad, this technology, ruining us, blah, blah, blah. Right? But cars were created. Now, what's the problem? The problem is that some people, or 95% of people, still use horses. And then some people were using cars. Very small, the rich. The problem is, when cars came about, cars couldn't succeed. It took 40, 50, 60 years before cars became normal. Now, in the interim, what was the standard? What was the go-to? There was no standard. Because cars had a problem. When they drove, you drive on this side or that side. There was no traffic lights. In fact, all the roads were horse lanes. Right? Now, what happened is that it took 40, 50 years before cars became the standard accepted way. Now, in the interim, this is what we call transitionary times. And transitionary times is times that are marked by no standards. What is interesting, and I'll talk through this is a little bit more. If you look back in history, right, you think of the most interesting era in history was actually the 1880s to the 1920s. Right? You know why? Suddenly, you got light bulb. Wow, can work at night. Can. Suddenly you got cars. Suddenly you got aeroplanes. Suddenly you got electricity. Suddenly you got money. Banks started print money. You got radio. You got so many inventions. Good, right? Good or bad? All these things. So good things will bring good things, right? Yeah, but you know what really happened? You know what these things brought about? In 1915, World War I. In 1919, Spanish flu. In 1920s, the Great Depression. In 1930s, World War II. Why? There was actually chaos. Because cars created chaos. Because the horse guy is saying, no, don't take my horse jobs away. Then the guy who's using horses, I don't understand this mechanical nonsense. What nonsense? Gear, brake, nonsense. Sounds familiar. To Gen AI, to robotics, to all the nonsense that we are talking about now. But when you look back at history, you know who's going to win? Car will win one. Right? And horse became recreational sport. Now we talk about digital currency. Wow, digital currency. Who's going to win? Fiat money or digital currency? You know the answer. Who's going to win? Digital currency. You will ignore it and you pretend you don't understand it. Never. The problem is not that we don't know the answer. The problem is, should I use, which one better to invest in? US dollar, renminbi, ringgit Malaysia, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, there's 20,000 digital currencies. There's 200 currencies, fiat currencies. We don't have a standard. If I asked this question 30 years ago, you say US dollar. Then the Berlin Wall fell and then the US went in all the mess that they're in today. Today nobody even trusts the US dollar. So fiat currency, so we don't know. So what happened is we are in a time of transition. We are neither here, where it's the old way, okay I know it, this is the old way, nor are we in the new way, we are in between. No standard. Everything, And if you start looking at the complexity, it's not, you see, everyone talk about Industrial Revolution, okay, we had 1, 2, 3, now it's 4, right? The problem in Industrial Revolution 4, it's not one revolution, it's actually 3 revolutions. You have a physical revolution that's happening, which is robotics, driverless cars, 3D printing, all these things happening. At the same time, we have a biological revolution happening, predictive medicine. We have the genome mapping project, we have all these biohacking, all these things happening. Now, at the same time, we're having a digital revolution, which is generative AI, blockchain, disruptive business model, all these things are happening, right? Now, that's okay, So we're having, in the past it was simple, I'm the physical side, I'm the biological side, I'm the digital side. In the past, the last 5 years has seen all 3 come together in a convergence with no standards. So I'm saying, hey, let me take the robots and let me put human skin on it and let me clone the rat and a human and let me put generative AI in their brain and let me release this. No standard, right? And we are creating a world where there's no standards and we are told to navigate this. Now you're a business, how? We talk AI, we talk all these things. The problem is that there's no standards. But here's the good news. Right? The good news means that we get to influence and we get to dictate what stands. Now, how did the world become peaceful? How did World War II not lead to World War III? The world decided to come together and said, we need standards. So let's set up United Nations. We set up a standard for healthcare, WHO. We set up a standard for children, UNICEF. We set up a standard to fight, Geneva Convention. We set up a standard for everything. Until recently, when people don't believe those should be the right standards, and these new things come, there's no authority to say that standards. Which is why, when politicians don't understand this what's happening in the world, the easiest thing to do is fight lah. I don't understand, right? I don't know how to deal with this. Fight lah. But the other good news is that when you start looking at things like generative AI, 3 months, right? ChatGPT reached 100 million users, compared to mobile phones 16 years, 7, and so on and so forth. Right? Here's the good thing about this. If you look back through history, whenever there's a transition, after you go through the transitionary pain, the good news is it actually makes things even better. It creates more jobs. So if you start looking at before Industrial Revolution, this is the 120 years ago, right? You had limited production, very skilled people, and they were very upset. The horse guys were very upset. The cars were taking over. But what resulted is increased employment, but in different skills. The other piece that we saw is that before generative AI, the revolution, we'll see very creative people, very specialized skills. You cannot scale. Scaling depends on people. When you start looking at businesses today, I can actually scale without people, and I can actually enable people to do things that are not necessarily new and irritating and painful. Right? I'm going to talk about a couple more things that are happening in the world, and then I want to go talk a little bit about our response to this, the second part. So the other piece that's interesting is that we're starting to see how digital is accelerating many things. The products we do, the employees, how we serve our employees, how we empower them, how we optimize operation. But here's the other thing, because there's no standards, little things build up to other things. So I'll give you an example. Employee A and employee B, both same salary, around the same years of working, and one has 10 output, another one has 2 output a week, let's say a month. Right? 10 output, 2 output. Who's better? 10. But they are both, came in just 1 year working. So number A says, hey, HR, give me higher salary, this and that, I'm producing more. Say, cannot, sit there, follow your increment will come 1 year's time. Shut up, do your work, So after a while, employee says, I'm angry. I will leave and I will sell my output to the highest bidder. That's what we call, there's a term, it's called the gig economy. We basically say, here's my skills, I sell it to the highest bidder. Right? Freelancing. That's gig economy, right? Essentially. No, so now this guy goes, then he thinks there's no effect, but many of these start to do. Then what happens? The company say, I want the output. So then they say, my organizational structure must have these gig workers also embedded in it. So how can I have a hierarchical structure? I need a slightly different structure. I need a network structure. Then we start to see workplaces that are very ordered start to become a bit more complicated. Then another set of employees say, I want to do this. And they start disrupting this. And usually the disruption is not by companies, it's by individuals in a collective macro environment start to disrupt it. And then the company becomes a bit more complex, because now I got complex structures. And today, right, we are starting to see more and more complexity and chaos in companies. Even churches and ministries are the same. Because all these things are happening at the same time. And we're like, oh, we need to do this. We need to be more relevant. We need Gen AI. We need this. Oh, I don't know what all this nonsense happening. And part of what you start to see is not complex. It becomes complicated. And the difference is, complicated is a difficult situation. Complex is a difficult situation that's constantly evolving. It's constantly evolving or no? Never stops. And so you start to see, you see, I told you, the organization starts to change from hierarchical, tops down, to network based. And this Google, these are some of the startups today are all network based, right? Which means, and even my own organization, we changed. I mean, if you look at my business card, they demoted me. My official title is coolie, right? So, and it's real. So they said, hey, you are not supposed to be at the top, you're supposed to be at the bottom. We are supposed to be like a tree. Leadership is at the bottom, roots, give us, alignment and so on. We all are in the front, we should be the visible guys and so on and so forth. So, okay, let's agree that our new organization structure is a tree, not a pyramid. And more we're starting to see that. And the other thing is that we start to see people's needs also change. Employees say, last time when I was in GE, wow, they gave me a laptop. Wow, in the 1994, 1993, got a laptop, I was like hero. People don't have, terror. But then they pay me well, I'm happy. Best company in the world. Then 5 years later, not so good. I want more. I want some training. I want this, I want that. Then I want management. Then later, we said, I want to work for a company that has meaning, that has purpose. Wow. Companies like simply say, oh, we are a social enterprise. Everybody will start branding themselves there. But as this happens, companies have to change to adopt to that. And more you start to see, people will say, okay, we are not a profit-driven company, we are a purpose-driven company. Marketing lah. At least have to say that lah. We are not hierarchical, we are network. We are not controlling, we are empowering. We are not planning, cannot plan already, right? How many companies still do 10-year planning? God, Darren, no. How many 3 years? 1 year, 0, 9, 3 months. 1 to 3 years, that one's very good. How to plan 3 years, right? But cannot already, you can't. And as you start to see all these things evolve, you start to see a shift. Because in the past, leadership, right, used to be defined by the power of controlling information. You know why the leaders, the CEOs, very strong? Because they have all the information. But today, everybody got access to every information. What's your power? So leadership is moving away from controlling information to doing what they're supposed to do, which is drive vision, create alignment, enable collaboration, enable productivity to thrive. But here's the other part. For you to do all that, you need to start seeing what's happening in the world and start connecting dots. In '99, Tony Fernandez came over to GE. I was running aviation business, so came over to us and said, hey, we need to, can you all GE give us some of your planes? Because that time we had a plane leasing business. And he told us this story, which was very interesting. He said, look, I was on a flight, I think it's something like that, I can't remember, it's a long time ago. I was on a flight to Vietnam or God knows where, and I was, when I was reading, I was looking at a plane and I was like, half the planes are empty. Then I look at Malaysia Airlines financial statement, they're profitable. Half the plane empty can be profitable. And he said, most of the flights, not full one, but looks decent. And then he went to Vietnam, had a conversation. Somebody said, 91% of Vietnamese have never flown before. Wow, he's very interested. Came back to Malaysia. How many percent of Malaysians have never flown before? 87. What? Really? I'm shocked. So he thought, wow, really? Hey. Okay, then a few days later he saw Virgin or DRB, I can't remember who, one of it, I think DRB, want to sell an airline called Air Asia for 1 ringgit. He said, hey, you fill up half the plane, you're profitable. 87% of Malaysians never flown before. Airline available for 1 ringgit. You connect dots, very easy, right? But nobody connected dots like him. Then he said, hey, simple new one. Makes sense. Come on, give me money. No bank want to give me money to lease 2 planes. Cannot GE. Okay, we gave. And hence Air Asia started. But here's the thing though. Every one of us has the opportunities to see all these dots. But nobody sees it. And here's where transformation begins. It's about knowing how to see the dots in the right time, in the right place. Connecting them. And guess 2 things will come when you connect dots. One is you see an opportunity. This is how transformation begins. It starts with seeing opportunity. The second thing you may see is a threat. Either you mitigate a threat or you leverage an opportunity. Both also can one. The problem is we cannot transform because we don't see. We don't see the little things that are moving. And I got no time to show this, but usually I show a video of people playing basketball. and I ask you all to look at the video, nobody really notices there's a gorilla, there's the black thing actually sends a gorilla. And they send the gorilla in, and the gorilla comes in and walks away. But the second time the gorilla comes in, let me eat one of the white guys up. But the white guy continue playing, then goes off. Then third time he eat another guy. Then suddenly the white guy got nobody passed to say, hey, what happened? Crisis, hey, who's But this happens a lot in a lot of places. Whether it's in the street, whether it's ministry, whether it's different places. We consistently don't see the little gorillas that are coming, that are eating away. And the problem is because we're too busy doing what we're supposed to. But I think we need to start to say, let's pause and start looking at the world with a different lens. And I want to close with talking about something else that's changing drastically. And this is, this kind of reference from my own study of a guy called Jesus. And I say this guy is a funny guy. Because one day like that, one day like that, one day like that, wow, completely opposite one. And as the more we started dwelling into him, we started to realize that actually what the world requires today, the world has become very paradoxical. Let me give you an example. I talked about this transitionary times, right? For you to move and lead in these transitionary times, to drive transformation, to be light and salt in these transformation times, these transition times, requires you to have paradoxical thinking and paradoxical delusion. So what's that? Let me give you some examples. You know what, this is typical for companies. I was just talking about your HR people about 2 hours ago, right? And one of the things, hey, your bosses, right? Your bosses will ask you, can you please have standardized processes? But they also say, can you be personalized with your employees? Which one you want, standardized or personalized? Voila! Can you be a business advocate? Can you, help drive business, drive this? Can you also care about your employee? Which one you want? Put business needs first or employees needs? Voila! Can you be strategic and drive strategic decisions and change? Can you also be operational and make sure all the administrative get done? Sounds familiar, so I can keep going. I want you to drive change. I want you to make things different. Hey, make sure why organization not stable one. Keep it stable lah. Come on, guys. Hey, I want you to be transparent, be open. Hey, how come you let the fellow see this confidential information? You ask me to be open, transparent? Wait, God, this time take care and be transparent one. Wait, what's wrong with you? You see what's happening? Now, in most companies, right, almost everything. Be global, be local, both. Why? Which one? Drive performance, okay? Drive the employee, make sure they push them around. Hey, why you never take care of the mental health? Why you never take care of the person's well-being? Got it? Your company? No, they don't require both. They just do one only. Everyone's life, I tell you. There is a requirement to. That means that you must be 100% global when it's time to be global and 100% local. I started to compile these paradoxes for leadership. And I came up with more than 20, like 100. In fact, I asked, I don't know whether I made it public yet, but I created my own GPT. In ChatGPT, you go to the store, you see some of the ones I created, but I created a GPT to work with me, talk about all the paradoxical situations for ops manager, for this, for that, and so on. But here's leadership. Hey, you must be humble. Which one more important for leader? To be humble or assertive? Which one?
Humble.
Both, huh? Not balanced, right? You know what's balanced? Half humble, half assertive. Balance is no way, no. You must be humble like 100% when it's time to be humble, or you must be assertive like 100% when it's time to be assertive. You must talk when it's time to talk. Most of the time we talk when we're not supposed to talk. And we must listen when we're supposed to listen. 100% listen. Not balance one, No such thing as balance anymore. It's like I need to be in that situation. I need to be 100%. When it's time to quit, we quit. Don't be like Najib and other guys. You quit when it's time to quit, like Nelson Mandela. And you fight when it's time to fight. Like he fought for 27 years in prison. You got the right time to break the rules and be stubborn. But the other times you break the rules, you go to jail. No. But when's the right time to break the rules? When is the right time to adhere to the policy? And more and more leadership, right, is defined by how we move and swing from one paradox to another in all our situations. And you can be both at the same time. No. Mother Teresa, when I was covering her death, 97, she died and I was in the TV station. So I was actually covering her death and did a obituary and stuff. She go aggressively, I want food for my kids. Wow. The guy slapped her. Instead of slapping back, she's humble and say, okay, thank you for the slap. But I want my food. Humble and assertive in the right order. At the same time. Then she get the food. Might get a few slaps. Still get the food. you start looking at this. And as I start understanding the 21st century, first, we need to understand what's happening. We need to understand the dots. We need to understand the opportunity. But for us to activate the opportunity requires paradoxical behavior, paradoxical thinking, paradoxical understanding. It's never going to be an easy part anymore. It's going to be complexity that we have to say, okay, how, when, and we need to quickly swing from one end to the other end. And we saw that a lot when I studied this guy, Jesus, right? I studied one day can wash people's leg, now one goes temper, whack things off in a few hours, right? Contrasting the right behavior, the right time, the right place. And so, one of the things I want to show about is when we talk about paradox, and I want to share a little bit about parenting, because I think that's maybe relevant to everybody. Paradox is like something that seems incongruous, but connected, right? And makes sense in the data. So let's talk about parenting, and I'll close off with this one. So we understand visible and invisible parenting. Most people understand this part. At the start, I must be very visible when the kid, because the kid needs intervention and so on and so forth. Then as a become teenager, less direction, more delegation, less telling, more asking, less explaining, more experience given. And then later when the kid becomes an adult, okay lah, let go lah, right? But, and I'm going to skip this part, but here's some other things. Autonomy, freedom, or boundaries. Nurture, disciple. Do I show unconditional love when the person makes mistakes, when do something bad? I need to, right? I need to show unconditional love. But I also need to punish, right? I also need to make sure they're accountable. I need to do both. I need to have quality time. This is what I'm learning now as a parent of teenagers. I need to have quality time, but I also need quantity time. Sometimes they just want you there. Just want you there. They don't want to talk to you also. Quantity time is as important as quality, but you need to know when. If you quantity time in the wrong time, so they get out of here, when you disturb me, I want to hang out with my friends, I want to see your friends. Right time, right? Flexibility, routines. I can keep going. Do we want them to be individuals, or do they want them to conform and say, you better be like last time my parents said, be engineer, doctor, or accountant, right? Standard one. So I kind of break the mold. Pretend after that. Right? But how? In a world that is in transition, what are you going to tell your kids? Study what? We also don't know. Who's going to win? What's going to do? Study what? Do what? And this is where we need to journey with the person. And we're going to journey in this paradoxical manner together. Independence, support, listen, teach. When is the right time to teach? When is the right time to listen? Why I close out with this? And same thing, employees and children same. Extend grace, hold them accountable. The answer is both. At the right time, at the right place. And I leave you with this thought. To close out with, we are called actually to, we cannot change the fact that we are in transition time. We cannot change that. We cannot. But we are called to lead, we are called to transform, we are called to drive change in these transformative or these transitionary times. And we need to understand that these transitionary times. We need to understand the world is changing. We need to accept that. We need to then say, what can we do? What dots can we see that are forming? And how then can we react to the dots, find the opportunities, find the threats, navigate them in a paradoxical manner. And this is a learning journey. All of us will be on this learning journey together. So with that, I close out this section. I know we'll have some time for questions and so on and so forth. But hopefully hopefully just make you think a little bit in terms of what's happening in this world today. Alright? Thanks.
Thank you very much, Roshan. Very interesting talk, and I'm sure all of you enjoyed it. So now we're going to go into a time of Q&A. So Roshan, I really like what you shared about market transitions and how many businesses, they just become obsolete, Kodak, because it just failed to connect the dots. But I think really accomplished leadership, in connecting the dots, you actually need to be on the ground to actually realize what are the current market gaps and realize what needs to be done. But I think in traditional leadership, what usually happens is that you have a lot of workers who are in touch with the customers, but then you have higher management, they're sitting way up there in C-suite. And so they would just probably come down once in a while, and then they'll run back up inside. And so I think that's really a disconnect. There's just no way for traditional leadership to connect the dots. So what's your opinion on that? How can we break out of the mold of traditional leadership?
It's changing. If you look at new startups, they are structured in a very different way. They're not structured where you create silos of people sitting up there. You're structured in a way that information flows seamlessly. Technology enables that. Technology allows us, and this is where it's very interesting. When I talk about personalization and standardization and so on and so forth, right? Without technology, you cannot do this. You cannot be personal and standard. You cannot be global and local without technology. So the good news is that as you start looking at, and I told you this, right, the leadership in the past used to get Reuters, Bloomberg, this and that. And so they got all the information. So whenever there's a decision to be made at the bottom of the organization, they say, have to reference the boss. Businesses today that do that are going to be slow, are going to miss the bet. And this is exactly what happened to Nokia as well. How can, I mean, you think about Nokia, iOS came in 2007, Android 2007. By 2008, iPhones and Android phones were everywhere. Nokia was the market leader. Now in 2013, the CEO of Nokia sent an email to employees, we are in a burning platform. You count the number of years, 6 years for them to realize this. I also can tell them, just like a couple of years ago, I mean about a year and a half ago, I said, hey, Google, you should die one. When ChatGPT comes, right, then they quickly reacted to Gemini and so on and so forth. But you start to see many other guys. Google's the standard in search, no more. Google's no more the standard in search. Someone like Google can fall in an instance. It means everybody needs to be wary and looking. So I think it's organizations should, and Google started this many years ago, they call it 20% time. They say, look, let's 80% of time do your work, 20% of time focus on seeing what's happening in the world and trying to experiment on new things. Right? And they started this a long time ago, which is why they're the pioneers. Actually, before ChatGPT, Google was already way ahead in AI. Right? It's just that these guys came in and shook the boat a bit. But you start looking at, I just talked to the former CEO, or the country head for Malaysia, right? Mark, who's now in Vietnam. He said, then he introduced me to Jawan, who runs the shop. I said, Jawan, you're the new head. No, it's different. We changed our structure. We whacked all the C-suites already. Now it's like double layered, and I mean, I was like, wow, interesting. Organizations are starting to change the structure to make sure that doesn't happen anymore, right?
So it's flatter.
It's not flatter. It's enabling communication to move in a faster, agile, and seamless. And they call it the agile organization. So more and more, you start to see older organizations too slow to the market unless they start figuring this thing out.
Yeah, the bigger they are, the slower they are to move.
And that's why my own company is GE. It was very sad last year when GE disappeared because GE morphed into many companies. Right? And the reason it's morphed is because you cannot control so many industries anymore. Every industry requires dedication, detail, and depth. In the past, you can say, okay, this principle, I can whack it across different organizations. No, because everything is going deep. And so companies are saying, I'll take this part and I'll go deep. I'll take this part and I'll go deep. I'll take this part. So as that happens, they say, I want the best for your supply chain. Right? So then you say, okay, this part, not my guys do. I give it to somebody else, give it to somebody else. And so what happens in companies, and I think this is what happened, more and more companies are going to be stitchers. They're going to say, this part somebody do, this part somebody do. I'll stitch the organization together. So when you do that, you get efficiencies and you get significant scale. Because now I get, somebody is really good at this part, they do it. And we call this outsourcing many years ago. But we looked at big processes, HR, IT and so on. Now it's even happening at the small levels.
So the businesses need to be specialized in certain core business functions, but also
you need to have what we call a viable value proposition.
Yeah. But also have the big picture. You don't miss connecting the dots. So I'd like to invite any of you, if you have any questions. Clayton.
It seems like a philosophical topic to me today, right? So, why not Vern here?
Yeah.
May I ask, how would you define wisdom? Because it seems like if one to be paradoxical, you need wisdom to tell when to act what, right? So how would you define wisdom? What is wisdom?
So I think what you're saying is not wisdom, right? It's knowing how to do what at the right time, right? Correct? That's what you mean, right?
I know what I'm asking.
Oh. Okay. So here's where I think where I think many times, especially with younger folks, right? We think that we know things because I give you an example. A couple of years ago, somebody said, I think I also can run your company. Somebody's graduated. So I said, okay, why do you say that? Oh yeah, because I've run cities before, I played SimCity, I played this, I played that, and so on. So virtually, they have managed businesses, they have managed cities and so on. The problem is that they have accumulated virtual experience, which is good, but for you to really succeed, you need to accumulate experiences. And to me, I start thinking more and more leadership is about accumulating experiences. Because you see, when you come to a situation, how do you know whether to talk or to listen in that situation? Your gut, right? Now, what is your gut actually? Your gut is an accumulation of experiences that is triggering you to do that. So we are starting to build people up to do big jobs without having debt. And this is a big problem in the world today. A lot of great stuff happening, which is what happened with all these VCs spending money on all these startups, all blue. Why? Because you are saying, this young person got great idea, blah blah blah, but no debt. Why Google succeeded? Because they said, Larry and Sergey, you cannot run the company. We let Eric Schmidt run the company, which is this old fart who has significant technology experience, and they partnered him with the young boys. So what I'm saying is that for you to become paradoxical, you need to start saying and making mistakes and falling flat. You will make parenting boo-boos. You will make leadership boo-boos. I made a lot, no? I said, okay, let's put money here, put my all burn, right? I spent 8 million on an edtech product called Nicole a couple years ago. I just killed it a year ago. I don't want to kill because you feel like, why? But generative AI, how to compete? There's no way you can compete with generative AI. So just kill it. I just burn money like that. But then I start to learn, I need to open my eyes a bit bigger to see stuff way before. Because generative AI, ChatGPT didn't come out last year in November. The early forms of it, 2016, 2017, already you start to see Google AI, 2016, 2017, they started doing it and they started providing that for businesses, right? So if I read what you're trying to say is, how do I know what to do when, right? You need to do it anyway, fall down flat, and say, oh, that's wrong. Accumulate that, but don't, see the problem is when we accumulate it, sometimes it's a mistake, throw it away. We accumulate it, we do, even if we're successful, right? We do a post-mortem of our success. We do a post-mortem of our failure. We like to do for failure. But why did we succeed? Is it really because we're so good? When I do post-mortem of some of my success, I realize, lucky lor. Lucky only. Nothing to do with me. Just luck, environment, market, economy, whatever lah, right? Then I say, okay lah, nothing to do with me, just luck. When you fail, actually, everything was right, but something, you start to realize that, right? But we stop doing these type of things. The reflection. Why I said we are so busy doing work, we're so being action item oriented. We don't take the time to sit back and say, actually, what is that one dog? What is the other dog? What's the dog? So if you see I carry many notebooks and I write lots of things and I forget But every couple of weeks I will look back at my notebook and do my notes and this is interesting. Oh, this is interesting. They put in another notebook. Here's my ideas. And so one of the things I say, why generative AI got no training one? All bluff one, because when you see the generative AI training, they teach you how to use ChatGPT. They teach you who do not do. I mean, it's not really how do I deploy AI into my product. Don't have. So then I went to NVIDIA. I said, hey guys, I want to talk to you. Can we actually create a generative AI institute? And then I went to PSDC in Penang. I said, hey Hari, I want to do this. You got a lot of money in Penang. I got NVIDIA. The guys are my friends now. Then we thought, okay, now we're creating a generative AI institute in Penang. But I wouldn't have been able to do this. Everyone can do that. Anyone can talk to NVIDIA. Who am I? I'm not even... Hey, a lot of bigger guys. A lot of bigger guys would have a better access to NVIDIA than me. But when I went to NVIDIA, they're like, hey, interesting, Roshan. Then I said, hey, we can do it SignW. We can partner SignW, FGV, create palm on LLM. Wow, let's connect. Okay. And NVIDIA get excited. Say, oh, yeah, interesting. But the only reason is that when I visit a customer, FGV and SignW, my customers, when I talk to them, I was like, hey, your palm upstream, downstream, all machine, right? Why are you not using AI to control the machines? Yeah, okay. That's it, the dialogue. Okay, one dot. Wow, NVIDIA has a use case for this LLM. Wow, another dot. Hey, guys, you all should talk. Opportunity, right? But it doesn't happen overnight, no. It takes a lot of failure, a lot of trying. And to me, I know this is insight, maybe philosophical, but here's why it's so hard. Everybody needs to start from zero. Everybody needs to go through the pain of leadership, as they did in the past. Last time, you take a long time to become a leader. There was a reason, no? You're accumulating experience, Today, if we say let's shortcut the whole process, even though it's technology, true, they are technological natives. The problem is they're not leadership natives. And to me, the entire world, no, we're going to have a correction. You see that? The leadership correction. It's like, hey, we need that. We need experience. We need things. I don't know if that helps.
Thanks for the excellent answer, Roshan. I'm just going to follow your train of thoughts. And you talked about you talked about post-mortem and all. So I think transformational leadership and the actual execution of the transformation can be quite distinct. So you can have the best trained transformation leaders out there, but it doesn't take one person to effect a transformation on the organization. So can you just quickly walk us through, within that limited time we have, of what are the barriers to transformation in the organization? What do we need to look out for that could block that transformation?
So I mean, to me, I think the four big levels are business model. The starting point is you look at your business model, and the business models of the world are changing. So you need to start saying, even in ministry, like, I mean, I run a ministry of WhatsApp Penabo and Scripture Union, and one of the things we always tell them, hey, look, it's the operating model different. It needs to change. The way we go to market, the way we access our customers or our stakeholders, and so on and so forth. The second piece is about structure. People actually behave according to structure. People don't behave according to what the CEO says. So the CEO can say all this, and I know when I took over the Star Media Group in 2013, right after the election, they called me to say, come and run the group. So Indian guy trying to run an MCA run company is quite an interesting experience for me. It lasted like 5 months, I think. But what was interesting is that people didn't, whatever I say, no value one. Because one guy says something else, oh, okay, everything changed. Like, well, I'm the boss, no value one. But if I change policy, if I change things, wow, suddenly people behave according to compensation, policy. These are structure. So, business model structure. Second is culture. Culture is what I call deep-seated beliefs. Now, what is deep-seated beliefs? So we say, my boss is like that one lah, my company is like that one lah. We talk like that. What is that like that one? That like that one is the deep-seated belief. This is the way things are. And this one cannot change by people saying things. Can only change by experience. Meaning you have to change a ritual. You have to change an experience. So when I was working on the DG transformation in 2011-12, I said, how do we become the number one? How do we have 2 million subscribers go to 12 million? Okay, so then we started thinking, okay, I need to change some rituals. I cannot take away DG, which is the Friday night party. I want them to be more productive. What are the rituals? What are the things that I can do? And as you start changing the behavior, you check, my boss twice did that, 3 times did that. I think, maybe I was wrong. Maybe this is the new thing. Now, your beliefs start to change. So you have experienced something, your beliefs start to change, then your actions start to change. Your actions start to change, your results start to change. You follow? So that's the culture part. The last one is alignment. Alignment is how do we make sure everybody is focused on the same thing. And this is what derails most companies. Is we are all focused on many things because we all see things in different eyes. Go back to experience. You reach a certain experience level, you see things in this way. You have a different experience, you see things in a different way. Now, when you see things differently, you interpret it differently, right? Now, another thing with alignment is that smart people always cannot communicate. You know why not? Because smart people, they say, you're supposed to communicate A, B, C, D, E, F, G. But what smart people say, A, everybody knows, I just start with B lah. C, kacang putih, D lah. F, G, okay, I communicated. Right? Then the guy is like, okay, I don't know what's this. Okay, I will create my own A, which is A2, not A1. A2, B, we create lah. We make it connect, we make CD, suddenly at the end, hey, I told you all this, why you all do like that? How many times did you say that? Correct? This is alignment lah. It broadly says communication, but it's much more than that. It's little, I got many things lah, right? But I'm giving you a snapshot of little things that actually translate to alignment lah. And companies struggle, ministry, everybody struggle one. Because we all have different spectacles. Our spectacles is dependent on our experience. And that's why young people will say this, older people will say that. Who's right, everybody wrong? Because the reality is in between somewhere. The reality is you have to be neutral to say, let me really see dots as they are, not as I want it to be. Because we like dots to be what we want it to be, to justify our actions. The hard part is we've got to see dots not to justify actions. You've got to see dots as is, and then take the appropriate action. And sometimes you're shocked. Like that one. I have to close down this. My sayang, $8 million cannot burn. What you do? You cannot do anything else because such is the world.
Right,
so those four things are.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Hi, I'll just ask you very quickly, right? So I want to take the point where you said about Tony Fernandez connecting the dots. Okay, so believe that there are two phases. One, you must be able to see the dots first.
Correct.
And after that, you must be able to connect the dots. So I think the issue is not that we don't want to connect the dots. So maybe
we don't know how.
We don't know how. It's like you tell us to connect the dots. It's like telling us you need to play like Maradona.
Yeah.
But it's not that we don't want to play the diagonal, okay? So it's not that we don't want to connect the dots. So do you have a learning methodology for us to acquire the ability to connect the dots?
So here's what I do lah, because I also get very lazy. This is the easiest thing to do, okay? Go and set up an account with Claude or Gemini or ChatGPT, right? And say, here's all the dots I'm seeing in the world. How does this connect? The guy will give you. Then you don't like, say, give me another interpretation of this. Ask it 10 times. And guess what will happen? You will start to see things you didn't see. And this is what I do lah. Much faster way, because in the past I take notes, think about it, go and like Idris said to me, it will take 2 weeks, go and meditate and pray and all these things. I'm like, okay, we do all that, but we also ask ChatGPT, right? I tell you, it's very powerful because and mine is, I personalize mine. I always tell, okay, here's what I stand for, here's what I think. You know, I even have a GPT I set up. It's called Debate Make. If you go to ChatGPT, look it up. I made it public. I debate with myself. I said, this is what I'm thinking. Fight with me. Right? And they give me a completely different perspective. Right? I mean, whatever lah. Sometimes, hey, I want to talk about this LGBT thing, this, how to talk to teenagers and this and that, right? Well, debate with me. Give me a perspective, right? I mean, this is my simplest way to do it. There is a specific way. Six Thinking has. There's many methodologies lah. But the best way I think today is the fastest way is ChatGPT lah. Just plug it in and then ask them. But plug it in lah. Write a one-page story of all the dots that you see. If you can. Does that hold that up? Try it.
Alright. Thank you so much, Roshan. I'm not so sure whether you realize this, but Roshan just gave us several pro tips. Claude, Gemini, and ChatGPT to get your answers.
Yeah, you can use Perplexity if you're very rich.
Yeah, Debate Me as well. So Debate Me, you chat with Debate Me before you meet your boss for your business proposal. Okay, thank you very much. It's been an honor to have you here, Roshan. We want to welcome you here again. Please give Roshan a big round of applause.